Okay. Okay guys, so you can start. Okay, we share my screen. So as always, so you have microphone access, and whenever you like have some doubts, just turn on your microphone and start speaking. Okay. Okay. You can see my screen, right? Can anyone confirm? I'm audible, right? Hello?
You are visible and we can see you.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so we have a like doubt clearing session at the end. So the session will be of 2 hours, right? So let's say for last half an hour we'll be doing a doubt clearing session of whatever content you have seen so far. However, let's start with. So I will share the presentation, like as I said earlier, right? Share the presentation and put out the recording in the YouTube channel. So you can find it whenever you record it. Okay. So we'll start with week two's content. So as per the course, right? As per the course, you are supposed to learn looping and if-else statements. So we'll be briefly touching upon them and discussing some basic questions on it. Okay. How um basically how we can use those constructs to solve some real problems, okay, or some dummy problems for now. Let's save real problems for later on when you are a little bit more aware of the language. Okay. Okay, so summary of week one. So in the week one session, what we learned so far is we learned Scratch, the drag and drop programming language which is being developed by, or which is developed by MIT, and it is very easy to learn, right? And what are the main concepts that we touch upon in last week's session was what is the sequence of or the control flow of a program, how codes can be grouped, and what is looping in Scratch, right? And what does they really mean in terms of code optimization? Why loops are better than repeating number of lines of code, right? Because it reduces the memory footprint of the program, right? Okay, and we also learned these three things, right? About these three things. One is this package manager called Anaconda, the programming language itself, Python, and the IDE, Jupyter Notebook, right? And later on, we also touched upon data types, primitives, right? Data type primitives, and how we can typecast to integer to other data types. Let's say other any data type to any data type, we can do a typecasting. And then the operators about logical or let's say comparative or arithmetic operations, right, that you can do. So this is the summary of last week's session. So you can find the recording and the corresponding slides, like I already have shared that with you, right? So you can find it in last week's chat as well. I guess the PMRF team has also shared you the sheets link, right? Where I'm like usually updating the link of the PPT and as well as the video link, right? Okay. So for this week we'll be touching upon these parts. Okay, so input output, and this is broadly based on whatever you have studied for week 2. So yeah, so mainly input output, how branching up happens. Let's say you have to make some decisions, so how you can do that in Python. Okay, and then how loops works and how control. So how can I manipulate or change the flow or change the execution style of a loop. Okay, so these are the main 4 topics that we will touch upon today, and later we will be discussing some of your doubts, and also do some hands-on programming. So I hope you have installed Anaconda ID, Anaconda uh, like in your system, so that you can, if you want, you can do a code along, and whenever you are facing some error, you can just unmute yourself and speak. Hello.
ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਪਾਪਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੋ ਗਏ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਨਿਊਜ਼ 'ਚ ਵੇਖਿਆ
Let me just. Okay, he's on mute. Fine. Okay, so let's revise the last week's content first. This arithmetic operations, right? So you can do plus, minus, multiplication, division, integer division, right? And then modulus, that is remainder division, and power. So these are the basic operations you can do in Python of any two variables that supports this. So for example, integers, floats, they all support these things, these operations. Okay, only float doesn't support this float division. It works similar to this division, like single slash, but integer supports all of them basically. Okay, so okay. Yeah, now comparison operators you already know. Okay, greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to, all those operations are also supported by Python. And logical operators like and or not. So it's like so earlier, like in the last week we already derived the truth table of and or, right? So true, if you do a and, it will be true. True false, if you do a and, it will be false, something like this. So these things also supports also like these things are also supported in Python, but the catch is for Boolean variables, the T and the F first letters should be capital, otherwise it cannot identify whether it's a Boolean or not. Okay, now let's start with input output. Now this is like particularly for this week, I will be starting the ID so that I can also do a code along. Source. Now to start the Jupyter Notebook ID, right, you have to write Jupyter Notebook in a folder where you want to start it. So I want to start in this folder, this PMRF NPTEL folder. So I will be going to that folder and starting the notebook. Now it is, yeah, now it is running. So yeah, I want to create this untitled notebook, and let's name the notebook as week. Okay. So first of all, we will touch upon input output. And see, this hash is actually single line comment in Python. Okay. Similarly, in C you have slash slash, right? So whenever you write slash slash, that line will be commented or not compiled when you try to execute the code, right? So similarly for Python it is hash. So if you put a hash in front of a line, it will mark it as a comment. So input slash output. Fine. Now let's see what is the slides. Okay, here are the slides. Now let's see how we can take an input from the user. Right? So let's first see how we can output. Then we'll go for input. So output, the statement is print. It expects a string, and two other things it expects is the separator and this last character or end character. Okay. So these are important actually. These are very much important for formatting your outputs. And other things you can ignore for now. This file sys.out and plus equal to false. This is, you can ignore it for now. So let's see how this shape and end and the string you send would change the output, right? Let's say print. I want to print hello world. Hello world. I can do it like this. It prints hello world. I can also do it like this. See, same space is there. Why? Because the default separator you have is space. Okay. So if I want to change it, I want dash to be there. Now see, that space replaced with dash. So separator means that thing. So how you want to separate the objects you are sending as a print. So see this star objects. That means you can send one object, you can send multiple objects as well. Now you know now what sep means, right? Separator means how the print statement will be separating hello world. Let's say. I am B, right? See, everything is kind of getting separated by this dash. But if I don't pass it, then everything gets separated at space. So by default, separated is space. Let's say I want uh, separator to be dash again, and let's say I want to print another line. Uh, let's say y, or let's say goodbye, right? Goodbye. Same. Now see, I am not printing within that line, right? So after I am not printing after that line, it's actually getting printed below that line. So there should be a default slash in somewhere, right? There should be a new line character after this. So that's the end character. So end. So if I want to end with termination, not a slash n, so by default the character is slash n. So it will be the next line will be printed as the new line. This is what is happening by default. But if I want to, let's say, end the line with a semicolon, then see this is what happens. So if I put end equal to semicolon, then yeah, so hello world I am Billy, and then there is a semicolon and goodbye, right? So if I don't pass it, it will be something like this, because the default end line character or the default end character is slash n. Yes. Yeah. So I have to change the behavior. I should be changing like this. Okay. Now print is done. So I don't think you guys would have any confusion up to this. So pretty straightforward. Now let's go for input, right? So for C, right? So for C, the printing statement is printf. So it's very easy to, or very similar, right? But for input, we have scanf in C, but here it is input. This thing input, and whatever it takes, it returns as a string. So whatever you type in your keyboard, it returns as a string. Okay. So and now this is the prompt. So before scanf, you have to do a printf, right? To do a prompt, let's say give an integer, you do a printf and then you scan. So now Python kind of combines the two sentences and construct this input function that you can pass the text to. Let's say I want to get a number, so give a number. This is the prompt, and let's say space. Now see it asks me of a number, and the prompt is given here. Okay. Now let's say I give 123.2. See, it returns a string. So if I want to check, let's say assign it to A, assign it to A 123.2, and let's check type of A. It's a string. So this input function, whatever it takes from the user, it returns as a string. So let's say I want to scan an integer, so I have to typecast that string to an integer. I want to scan a float, I have to typecast that string to a float, right? So for this to be a valid float, I have to typecast this to a float. Now it's a float, right? Let's say if it's an integer, let's say 1 to 3, only 1 to 3. If I typecast it to a float, then it will be 1 to 3.0, or if I typecast it to an int, it will be 1 to 3. So that is how you take input from user. Now let's say I want to take a string as integer. So let's say Billy, right? Now casting A as int would not work because Billy doesn't have any valid conversion in int, right? So that's a string basically, Billy. So you can also take strings, characters, anything you want. Okay. Now so this part is done. Input output. So input you can take, output you saw, you can do printf. Now let's so up till now what we know the arithmetic, logical and comparison operators, and how to take input and output, right? So what are the programs can we do till now? So usually when I am learning a language, right, what I usually do is um, so let's say I know C beforehand and I am trying to learn some language that is, let's say, Julia. That there is a language named Julia. So I can also learn that. So what I usually do, after learning up to some extent, right, I usually try to code whatever I can code in C, whether I can do the same in that language. That's the first part. So you have to be similarly proficient in whatever language you know and whatever language you are trying to learn, right? So for the first class in C, what you did, you did some difference multiplications, all those things, right? Now let's see how we can do them in Python. So you guys can also do it. So I will be just demonstrating in 1 or 2 minutes how you can do all of them, and take inputs from the users. Okay. So the program is, so it's bit towards doing a calculator program, but we will be finishing this program as we go along. Okay, so now you can assume that we will take inputs from users and just apply all the functions at once. Don't ask any operations from the user. I will be not asking whether you want to do a addition or subtraction or multiplication, because I don't know how to take decisions, right? I don't know if he provides a plus, then how can I take a decision of doing plus? That like, till now I don't know that. So I will be doing all the operations at once and printing them out. Okay. And let's see what are the things we can do. Uh, calculator. That's the goal. Calculator, creating a calculator. Like currently, what we know from that knowledge, I can do this. Number 1 equal to int. So I assume that those are ints. So int of input give number 1, same copy paste, give number 2. Now these two lines will take two numbers. Now I will be printing. So sum SUM, because SUM is a keyword. Okay, so we cannot use that thing. It's keyword for summing up iterators. I will discuss that later on. So I will keep SUMM as the variable name. So number 1 plus number 2. Similarly, I can do such difference, multiplication, and division. So difference, multiplication, and division. And this is division by means like by division I mean float division. So I want the fraction part of it. So it's not slash slash. It's only one slash. Now if I want to print them with only one print statement, I can always do multiple print statement. Let's say sum equal to this, or let's say difference equal to this. I can always do that. But let's say I want to print, or wait. I will show you something. That's string formatting you can do in Python. Let's say I only want to print number 1 plus number 2 is equal to number 1 plus number 2 equal to sum, right? But I want their values, exact values to be printed. So what I can do is do number 1 comma plus comma number 2 comma plus equal to sum. This would work. See, 2 3, yeah, 2 plus 3 equal to 5. But so there is a more efficient way, and that is similar to what we did in C actually. Print, and then you do, this is called template, or basically placeholder, where you can put values. Okay, so two brackets, that's a placeholder, plus two brackets, that's also a placeholder, is equal to two brackets placeholder. So these are kind of similar to %d in C. Now you do format, and exactly same how you pass in C, right? Print a %d in same order you pass in the parameters as well, right? So now you do number 1 comma number 2 comma 1 sum. So 2 3, see both of them gives me same output, but one difference is there is an extra space for the print statement, the above print statement, right? This one, because the separator character is space. So by default the separator character is space. If I just send a null character, so this is the null character, no character is there, then exactly same thing would happen. 2 3, see, same thing. So this is what is called as string formatting. Okay, so I can use that thing, string formatting, to print others as well. So just copy paste everything. So four things, minus, multiplication, division, and I do. And I have 2 and 3. Now see, their results are 5, 2.6666. This is how precision you can get in Python. So this many precisions you can get in Python. Okay, so at this point I can do all this, but what about printing which number is bigger? So I have to compare, right? So I have the operations but I don't know how to use them. So this greater, less, all these things are there, right? And whenever a number is greater than some other number, it will return a true. So it will return a Boolean variable, right? Now same. So I can also access number 1 and number 2 from these cells, okay? Because the ID can track all the variables you are creating. So you can also access the variables from other cells. Now let's see. Number 1 greater than number 2. Oh no, false. That means number 2 is greater than, right? Now to take an action, I have to have a block of like if else block, right? So if this is true, then I will do this, otherwise I will do that. So that's the general uh, like the general understanding of an if block, right? That you also have in your C, right? What it does, let's see the block diagram. So at this point, what we cannot do, we cannot take any action. Yeah, you can ask. So someone, I guess, put their hands up, right? So if you have any doubts, you can ask. By the way, let's continue. So printing which number is bigger, at this point we don't know that. Let's see how if else block work in Python. Okay. So for if else to be working in Python, we have this block of code. This is the template of an if else. So let's say a number is 10 and I want to check whether it is greater than 0. So if number is greater than 0, I will do this, else I will do this. And this is outside the if else statement, right? So the this is initialization of the variables we will be using. This is the condition, yes block, no block, and the end, right? So by a diagram you can understand it like this. So initialization and then condition. If it is true, then it will execute a block of code, that is yes block. If it is false, then it will execute another block of code, that is else block or no block. And finally it will go to the next segments of code, right, which is denoted as the end. So this is the end of the if else block. Okay, so I can do that to check whether number 1 is greater than number 2 is greater, right? So if number 1 is greater than 2, that means what? Number 1 is greater than, that's what it basically means, right? So print, what I can do, exactly same thing. So dot format number 1 comma number 2. So I can understand कि number 1 is greater than number 2. Else if it is not true, if it is false, then what I can do, it is less than, right? Now let's execute. It's printing 2 is less than 3. So this block of code is executed. Now let's do print in yes block. This is called testing. So we put print statements whenever we want to test which block of code is getting executed. No block. Now let's hard code those values. Number 1, number 2. Currently it is 2 and 3. Let's initialize them as 5 and 6, and let's see which block get executed. So it's in the no block. So this block of code get executed and 5 less than 6 is getting printed. Fine. Now make this as 15. Now see, yes block is executed and 15 greater than 6 is getting printed, right? And let's just also print a statement outside of if else code. Okay, and just start, like after that you can write the rest of the code. If I run this, you see it's first entered the yes block and then it went outside of the if else whole block. So this line of code or this segment of code never get executed based on the condition, right? Okay, so fine. So this is the block diagram. Now you have to also understand one thing that is different from C is the indentation. So you see this block is actually indented. So these are 4 spaces. So if I just count 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, right? So these are 4 spaces, white spaces, which constructs a block, constructs an indented block. So yeah, these things, and these are important. So based on the ID, you can find it 4 or 2. Both of them are kind of used in the Python coding style, right? You can also go with 2 blocks or 4 blocks, but the entire code has to be in the same format. So if you are using 2 block, a 2 space indentation, you have to use it throughout the code. If you are using 4 space indentation, you have to use it throughout the code. And based on the ID, the defaults are there. So I guess Sublime use 2 space indentation, whereas let's say VS Code or this Jupyter Notebook, they all use 4 space indentation. Okay. And just to compare, you can also see how the exact same code is translated in C. So C looks kind of like this, and there the indentation is optional, right? If you are using terminations properly, then your code will work. That's what C says. So just I guess I forgot to put this terminations here, right? But there should be terminations after these print statements and also here. Okay. By the way, okay. But for C there is no strict requirements of indentation, only terminations and brackets, right? But for Python, there is a strict requirements of indentation. So if you write it in 1 line or 2 line, like line by line, you cannot write. In C, you can do that. Okay. Now nesting. So whether I can put an if block inside of an if block. So let's say I want to take whether my I have a black t-shirt, whether I have a blue pant, then I can go to a party, right? Something like this. So if there are consecutive like statements that has to be checked, then I can do a if else like nested if statement. So something like this. Let's say I test an expression. If it is false, then I can test another expression, or if it is true, then I can test another expression. So there will be nesting of if else blocks. So there are some use cases to it. We'll say for the coding practices, we'll come to them later on. So when I have to use a nested if else, right? Okay. Now if else ladder. So this can also happen. So you can not only if and else, you can also do else if like this. So it will test multiple expressions and run a separate block of code for like whenever uh, one of them is actually it actually prioritize the top one. So whenever a top one block is true, it will execute that one. Even if there is a bottom one, like, or there are some blocks at the end of the whole ladder which is true, it will only execute the top one. Okay. And then else block is whenever nothing gets satisfied, like nothing gets true, then the else block get executed. So something like this. Let's say I want to check whether a number lies between 1 to 10. Okay, so I'll do this. If my number is greater than 40, and these type of statements also work. So greater than 40, less than 50, and I am writing it in reverse because uh, so I want to check in reverse because it will prioritize the top one, right? So if I write 0 less than 10, so actually that would also work for this case. Anyway, we'll just whenever we'll find those situations, I'll mention. So if print within 40 to 50, something like this. Okay, just copy this. The indentation is wrong, and see what error you get. for indentation, for missing indentation. So if I do this, you see, expected an indented block. So this is the perfect right indentation. If and then a force space. Let's say 30 to 40. And let's say I want to check else it is within 0 to 0 to 30, right? Now let's take number is equal to integer of right. Okay, let's input 30. Yeah, it's within 0 to 30. Now if I input 40 or let's say 45, what happened? Oh, sorry, this is a leaf block. See the mistake, right? So it's not a ladder at that time. So this block of code was executed separately, and I had it like this if. So this block of code is executed separately, right? So that's why two things are printed. One is this, and other, because it is not like this if statement is not true, it's else is getting printed. So I can just do else if and it becomes a ladder. Now only one will execute. See, same input 45, now it comes within 40 to 50. So this is how you write a ladder. So you want to check multiple statements similar to switch. Like in C, you can also do if else ladder obviously, but for Python we don't have switch statements. So similar to switch, you can use if else block or if else ladder in Python. Okay. Now this is I guess pretty straightforward. Just you have to take 3 integers and take print out which is maximum and which is minimum. Okay. So yeah. Can anyone or do you want to give it a try, or I can discuss the solution? So just I guess one of you can unmute and say how you want to how you will be approaching this problem. Let's say
Sir, first
this
we need
problem
to
comes. Yeah. Go ahead.
first we need to call those integers like by using the function int. We have to take some variables, maybe a equals to 1, b equals to 2, and c equals to -3. And
So now I want to print maximum and minimum, right?
so will I be using if else statement here?
Yeah. So because like until now we are, what do we know till now? We want like we know arithmetic, logical, and comparison operators as well as if else block, right? So based on that knowledge, what would you do? How would you approach this to compute minimum maximum?
If num1 is greater than num2, then we print num1, and then we use elif number num1 is greater than num2 is greater than num3, then we num.
So basically what we want a sorting of it, right? Right, let's say if num1 is greater than num2 and num2 is greater than num3, then what is minimum maximum? Minimum is num3 and maximum is num1, right? So we want basically all possible sorting of these things. So the brute force approach for this, so someone is saying something. Yeah, we can. Yeah, so I guess Ismail is saying whether we can give it as a max. So you can apply max for iterators. Later on we will also discuss them, but for now let's say we have only 3 integers, right? So I want all possible ordering of it. So how I can take, so it's just a brute force thing to do with if else. So let's say number 1 is a, just to type less a int input number 1, and then just copy it 3 times, a b and c. This is number 2, number 3. So I take 3 numbers, let's say 1 2 minus 3. Now let's write all possible sorting of them. So a greater than b greater than c, this is a possibility, right? B greater than a greater than c, this is, or let's just go in order, a greater than c greater than b, right? Now let's keep b as the maximum, a greater than b greater than a greater than c, or what can happen, b greater than c greater than a, or c greater than a greater than b, c greater than b greater than a. So this is the all possible combinations, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6, 6 combinations. So just correct me if I am missing some combination. These are all possible combinations, right? So I can just take if else. So one of all of them would happen. So not two of them can happen at the same time, right? So I can do a if else ladder, a leaf, just write a leaf, a leaf, a leaf. Now what should be the print statements in this case? What is this, right? Format, what is max and what is min for this case? A is max and c is min. Now exactly same thing I can put under all of them and just change the min and max. So for this case a is maximum, b is minimum. For this case b is maximum, c is minimum. For this case b is maximum, a is minimum. This case a c is maximum, b is minimum. For this c is maximum, a is minimum, right? I'll just start.
Hello, sir.
Maximum is 2, minimum is 3. Yeah.
Sir, should not we use comma before that dot format?
No. So that is the syntax. So it's like this. So whenever you have a string, let's say my name is this, right? This is the template, and now I want to format it. So there will be a dot. So the operator looks like this, dot format. So it's actually defined like this, str, this is a type, and I have a dot format. So this is the function.
Okay, sir.
So it applied on string type. So this is a string dot format, and I can have a Billy here. So it will replace that template with Billy.
Okay, sir, I understood.
Okay. Fine. So now you can compare all the possibilities, right? So this is how we approach it. So you can also optimize this code with nested if else. Like I guess leave it for your homework, or whenever you try to sit for practice, you can try to optimize this code and make it, I guess, in 3 lines. So you can also do it in 3-4 lines instead of all this 1 to 6 lines. Okay. So let's go for the next problem. Now let's this is a basic problem, right, that you all did in your like first C class, I guess. What is it like in, let's say I have an input and I want to print whether it is even or odd. So the logic for even odd is if I divide with 2, and the remainder is 0, then it is an even number. If I divide it 2 and the remainder is more than 0, then it's an more than 0 means what? It can be only 1, right? Because the remainder can be if I am dividing by 2, the remainder can be 0 and 1. So either it will be 0 or 1. So for even numbers, the remainder will be 0. For odd numbers, the remainder will be 1. Right? That's the logic. So I want to print odd evens. How I can take, so number equal to int so you guys can see this, right? Or I can zoom. Input and keep a number. I can keep, let's say, 23. And see, there is no colon there, so the formatting is little bit bad. I can do a colon and space so that it looks good. Okay. Now, what is the logic? So I have the number with me. If I divide it, and the division is remainder division, so percentage is the remainder division. So I get the remainder as output. I divide it with 2 and see what I got. I got 1 because it's an odd number, right? So I can only use this as a check. So I will check whether number divided by 2 is greater than 0. So that means what? That means it's an odd number. Print odd, right? And else I just print it's an even. That's it. So yeah, it's an odd number. I can also merge these two. Let's say I will give 122. It's an even number. I give 124 1. It's an odd number. So this is how easy it is to use if else block and kind of run a yes block if I am satisfying some condition, or other block if I am not satisfying the condition. Okay. Any doubts so far? So currently what we learned is this all the arithmetic logical comparison operators and how to do if else. So how to do decision making whenever you have some condition on it. Okay. So you can just unmute yourself and speak if you have any doubts so far, or if you want me to elaborate some part.
So, will you be putting out the material anywhere? Like,
Yeah, so I can actually share the material with you. Let me just share it in the chat. Copy link. And also, I guess the NPTEL team has shared a document with you, right? A sheet. Yes, this sheet. This sheet has been shared with you, I guess, right? So this is the video link that will be shared with you, and this is where the presentations are getting kept. It's being kept there. Okay.
is it
Also,
sir?
yeah, it's, I guess, actually shared with you. I guess like scroll through your emails from NPTEL, you will find this. Or like for your convenience, I can also send the link in chat.
Thank you, sir.
This is the presentation link. Okay. And for the YouTube videos, you can, so for this recording, right, you can you can see this channel. So the recordings will be updated here. Okay. Okay. So let's go for loops now. So what are loops? Loops. So earlier, I guess like last week, what we did. So we had 42 lines of code and repeating codes actually. So it was sleep and move, these kind of statements. So what we did is to combine the all repeating statements in one loop, right? And it boils down to like instead of 20 lines of code, it boils down to 3 lines of code. So loops are used whenever you try to reduce the size of your code, or you don't want repeating statements to be there. Okay. And like anyway, the objective is to repeat something, or do something in a continuous fashion, but you don't want that to be written in the code, right? You want a loop to be like a looping structure to be encapsulating that thing. Okay, I want 1 2 3 these three statements to be run in a loop or in a continuous fashion multiple times. So this is what the block diagram of a loop. So whenever you start, like start means whenever you come to a loop, okay, and then you check for a condition whether you want to loop or not. If it is true, then you execute the code which is within that loop body, or similar to if else block. Whenever the continuous condition is true, it runs the if block, else false block. But here, whenever the condition is true, it will run the loops code block, the block which is within that loop. And whenever it is false, it will just exit. It will just exit and continue the rest of the code. So this is the block diagram. So loop, when true, it executes the code block and check the condition again. If it is true, it loops again, and whenever it finds the condition to be false, it exits the loop and continue with the rest of the program. So this is what a loop means. Okay, you just do the same thing again and again in your code. Okay. Now for Python, loops are 2 types. So one is for and another is while. Okay, you cannot do any other looping. For C you have 2 while loops as well, but for Python there is only 2, while loop and for loop. There is a for else loop as well, but it's not relevant for all the applications. So we'll discuss it whenever whenever we have a specific need for it. But anyway, the overall 2 loops are there, for loop and while loop, but how to write them. So that's the main point. So for C, how to write loops? Let's just assume that you guys know C. So for loop, what we did for. So let's just write it as I write in C. Let's say initialization. This is the comment, right? Comment in C //. So initialize, I do I equal to, or actually int I, right? And then I do I equal to 0. This is the initialization part, I equal to 0. So wait, let's just write. Okay, let's just write to this is for loop and this is while loop in C. So in C. Okay. So int I, and then I do I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, right? And whenever I write something, so something is here. So whatever code I want to execute, I put it here, right? And for while loop, how it is works. So I have to do the initialization here, and then I have to check while I less than 10, and then something, right? And at the end, because see, for loop I have this plus plus thing going. So what it does, after each looping, it increments this I 1 by 1. Okay, so for the first loop it will go 0, for the second loop it will go 1, and it will go until it reaches 10. So whenever it reaches 10, this becomes false, right? I less than 10, so 10 less than 10 is false, and it closes out of the loop. So basically other thing, it executes the other thing, right? Things, okay. And for while loop, you see there is no I plus plus here, right? So I have to manually increment the the iterator variable. I is the iterator, so it's called the iterator variable, and then only it will stop. Otherwise, you see, if I don't do this, if I forgot to put this, then it will result an infinite loop. So it will go on for like infinite amount of time until you interrupt it, until you manually close it. Okay. So similarly, exact same code in Python. So in Python, how it looks is like this. For now, you already know there is no this definition doesn't need to be done in Python, right? So for I is the iterator, same. So I don't have to initialize it beforehand, or I have to define it beforehand. No. So for I in range. So range gives this thing. So what are the parameters? Start, end, and then increment. These are the three parameters of range. So start is and end is excluding. Okay, excluding. Excluding. End means it will not go up till end. It will go like before end, which is the like whatever is the valid number before end. So that it will go up till that. Let's say I am incrementing by 1. So if my end is 10, so it will go up till 9. If I am incrementing by 2, then it will go up till 8, right? But excluding the ending number. Okay, let's just go for 9. Okay, so I want to loop till 0 to 9. So start would be 0, end would be 10, because I want to go to 9, right? And the increment should be 1. So this is how you write the exact same thing. Instead of C, you write in Python. Now for something I just do, let's say print I, and the end variable I change it to comma. So after each printing it will do a comma, comma, comma. Okay, now if I run it, you see 0, 1, 2, 3, like this. And this separator, this cannot be float. Okay, it can only be integer. Float cannot be interpreted as an integer. So it's saying ki the increment cannot be float. It should be always integer. So 1 is valid, fine. If I am going with 2, it's also valid. You see it printed up to 8, right? That is how you do for loop in Python. Now for while loop, it is like almost exactly same as C. Also in Python you have to do like this: while I less than 10, and you can do print I, and then you have to increment the I equal to I plus 1. And because see I here, if I print I, right, if I print I here, you see it's already 8, right? So I have to reinitialize it to 0 first before using it here. Okay, so it is 0 now, and if I run it now, it prints the same thing, 1, 2, 2, 9. And if I want to increment by 2, I have to do I equal to I plus 2 here. Okay. No, why it doesn't work? Why it doesn't get printed? Because I is already at 10, so it gets false. Okay, so I have to initialize to 0 again to make it work. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. And now it becomes 10. You got it, right? And similarly, if I am going with 3, you see 0, 3, 6, 9, and I becomes 12 after the loop. So it's more than 10. It overshoots 10. Okay. So now let's just put those statements in the wait, let me just, this is for C and this is for Python. So just take a screenshot and put them in the slides. Yeah. So for loop, the syntax looks like this. For while loop, let's just put this I here. The syntax looks like this. Oh, let's just go with 2 for now. Capture, paste. Yeah. So for loop and while loop, you have the corresponding C and Python statements in the slides. So if you ever want to refer to it, you can go there and see. Okay, it's almost similar, so should not be hard to remember. But anyway, the implementations you can do with Python are very much easy as compared to C. Okay, so based on this, what you can do? So based on this, we can print numbers from 1 to 100. We can print only odd numbers. See, so we know how to print even and odd, right? So now if I want to print all the numbers from 0 to 100 which are only odd, I can just combine the logics, right? I can just do this. Let's just get the logic for odd even, and I will not have this input now because I have a loop. So I can just count from 0 to 900. Now for number in range of 0 to, I want to go till 100, so I will type 101 and then increment by 1, so that means I will reach till 100, and at 101 it will become false, and it will be closed out from the loop, right? Now if I paste that logic, I have to just fix the indentations. Yeah, that's the indentation. See, for this block I have one indentation here, and for each block I have another indentation. So this is 4 spaces and this is 4 spaces. Okay, so this is how you do nested indentation. If else, even 2 for loops will also looks like this. So one for and then indentation, another for, and then another indentation for the second for. I'll go with that a bit. Wait a minute. Okay, for number 1, 0 to 100, fine. So I want to print only odd numbers and not the even numbers. So odd, I can just print num here and put the ending character as comma instead of /n, because it will print in new lines. Instead I can just print it in one line by just separating them with commas. And for else I can just do nothing. So for doing nothing, the statement is pass, EASS. So it just means for else block, just do nothing, just execute this statement which basically do nothing. Okay, so if I run this, you see all the odds numbers are printed. So one is not considered as a, so one is considered as an odd. Yeah. Hello. My screen is not visible, guys.
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, you can see my screen, right? So someone, I guess, in chat mentioned that my screen is not visible. Okay, fine. Uh, so that's how I print all the odd numbers. Okay. Now let's go for the Now take a list of numbers and print them without storing. So storing for storing a list of integers, there will be like abstract data structures like list, tuples, and all. We have not covered them yet, so we'll cover them as we progress throughout our course, right? But at this point, we will not store them. We'll just take them and print, right? So let's just do that. I can do this. Take 10 integers and then print them, and when we print them uh, like as we go. Okay, so number equal to not number a equal to int input give number, and then just print you provided, and just do this. Now I can also do this, but the thing I have to also do is this f. This is a shorthand of that formatting. Okay, so see, these are some like some tricks that you can remember to reduce how much you type. Okay, so see, you can always print like this: your provided number is, and then you do a comma and then type a. This is the standard, right? So earlier I also showed that you can use placeholders like this, and then do dot format, and this will also work, right? But exactly same thing you can do as a shorthand like this. Write a f at the beginning of the string, so that means you are formatting it. Put a here and remove this whole thing. So exactly the variable you want to print here, it will also print the same thing. Let's just put a equal to 2 here. See, all of them print the same thing. So I guess based on how many numbers we are printing, some are convincing, like some gives you convenient options. So whenever I am printing something, I mostly use this because it saves me from unintentional error. Let's say I messed up some ordering in this format, right? I write instead of A B C, I write B A C, and it gives an output that is not desired, right? And it's hard to debug because you have, let's say, hundreds or thousands of line code. Then it's hard to debug. But for this, whenever you try to print something, you can just use this statement and give a f at the beginning. It will reduce the chances of error, as well as keep your code pretty clean for others to read. Okay, so I'll just go. So these are the three methods you can do with print. I will just go with the previous code. Let's just run it. I gave 3. So you provided number 3. I guess 4, 2, 1, minus 1, 10. So this is how I can take numbers in loop and print them alongside without storing them. So what will be stored at the end of this loop is whatever number I entered at the last. So 100, 102, 10, or 9, and let's say minus 8. So that's the last number I provided, right? So now if I see what A has now, it has minus 8 because all the previous assignments, this 3, 4, 2, all those assignments gets replaced. Whenever I am assigning it to a new variable, it becomes like the previous value gets replaced with the new one, right? So as the A has the last minus 8 value at the end of the loop. Okay, so now you can take a list of numbers, find print each digit of an integer by one by one. So this is an interesting problem. I have an integer, let's say num, let's go here, right? Num. let's say I have 1 2 3 4 5. This is the number I have, numbers. I want to print one by one their digits. So 1 2 3 4, this is what I should print. So how do you approach it?
By indexing them.
But you cannot do indexing, right? It's an integer. So if I do, let's say if I do 0, num0, it will give me an error, right? Because ints are not subscriptable. So you cannot get the 0th digit from integer. It is only valid for strings and lists, all those things.
Explicitly convert it to string and then do it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you think in Python. But for C, let's think from the perspective of C. How do you approach this in C? And if you can realize that one, then you understand how much Python reduces your coding effort. Let's say for C, uh, what I have to do for this, let's just write the same logic in Python, whatever I will follow in C. So I cannot convert integers to string, right? In C, like there is no standard method for converting integers to string. So there are some methods that you can code always, or have some functions imported from a standard template library or something that would convert integers to string. However, the basic C syntax doesn't have any like type conversion from integer to string, right? So I have to do like this. So number is that fine. While number is greater than 0, do this. The digit is equal to, digit is number modulo 10 and the new number, and then print the digit, and the new number is digit is equal to number is equal to number integer division by 10. So this is what is the C logic look like. See, 5 4 3 2 1, all the digits are printed, right? But for Python I can just convert it to string, and now number is replaced. I have to again initialize it. I can just do this and then print with one for statement for every element in string this, print p. This also works. So you can also iterate over strings in for loop. Okay, but for C to do the exact thing, you have to index it. So you have to loop till 0 to the end of the, or to the length of the string, and index it like si, s0, s1, s2, like this. But for Python you can directly loop in a string. Okay, it will give you the elements one by one. Okay, so see, so this is how. So in case of C, it is 1 2 3 4 lines at like minimum, and there are other boilerplates also. So you have to write an int main, write a return statement, import standard IO libraries and all.
Hello, sir.
But for Python, yeah, go ahead.
So can you please show us that how to print unstrong number in using while loop?
Yeah, so while loop means you want to print all the Armstrong numbers in a range, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's see what Armstrong numbers are. So I guess it is user same, right? I am strong number, right? So yeah, so the digits cubes are same as the number. Fine. So what I will do, so I have all this, see, let's go for the Python logic now. So I have all the elements here, and these are in characters. So if I write type of this, so these are all strings, right? So to have them as integer, what I have to do is I have to typecast them. So now if I typecast them, these are all integers. Now those are not strings. Okay, Now what I can do, I can keep a let's say I keep the name as cube sum is equal to 0 initially, and I check, or I actually cube the digits and sum it to cube sum, right? Plus equal to, this is shorthand, so it's just like cube equal to cube sum plus that thing. So it's exactly same as doing this. Okay, now I will check whether cube sum is what, this, and it is not equal to the number, right? It is not equal to the equal to number. No, it's false. So that means it's not a, so if this is true, then it is an Armstrong number, else it's not, right? Not an Armstrong number. Yeah. So let's see what an Armstrong, like example of an 135. This is an Armstrong number. So just to go with it, just add in cell here. Number is equal to 153. Now it should return Armstrong number, right? Yeah, it's an Armstrong number. And let's say any number that is not Armstrong, 2 to 5. This is not Armstrong. This is not Armstrong. That is how you do. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you please explain the previous while loop, that norm is equal to norm/10? I can't understand.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how you write, because see, for Python you can convert an integer to directly to string, right? But for C you cannot do that. So you have to do like this. So digit num modulo 10 means it will give you the remainder. So remainder means the last digit. Okay. So if I do like this, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 modulo 10. So how up to how much it can be divisible directly? 1 2 3 4 0, right? So the 5 is the remainder. So this is remainder division. So it will give me 5. Got it? Now in the next this part, what I am doing, uh, I am only taking this part. So I am removing everything which is not divisible by 5. So not divisible by 10 actually. So in the next loop, what is happening? Uh, so the float division looks like this, right? 1 to 5.5. Now the integer division looks like this. It omits the floating part. So now I have 1 2 3 4. So first time 5 is printed and the number is changed to 1 2 3 4. Now next time 1 2 3 4, so now digit will be 4, right? So if this is this, now digit will be 4. So 4 is printed and the number becomes 1 2 3, right? It goes on until it becomes 0. So how it becomes 0? Let's say when it comes to 1, right? So when I have 1, it prints 1, and then here it prints 0. So the loop exits. So after printing 1, the number is less, like equal to 0, not greater than 0, so it exits out of the loop. So this is general C logic, how you do digit printing or printing each digit of an integer in C. Okay, but for Python you don't have to do all this. You can just convert it to a string and look through all the elements.
Okay, sir, I understood it. Thank you, sir.
Now anyway, so at this point, I guess if you like to clarify any doubts or try to do any program using loop or all other these things you have learned so far, you can just say okay how to implement this. So you can just unmute yourself and speak. Now just like she said, right? Implement a Armstrong number. So you can also unmute yourself and see. So this is basically like solving some of your doubts that you are having on the current knowledge, key loops and if else, all those stuff. Okay, but the other problem, these are general problems that everybody solves whenever they are learning a language, right? Okay, so let's just do another dummy problem, that is palindrome. So palindrome means the if you see a number from forward to end or from end to beginning, it will be exactly same. Something like 1 to 1. This is a palindrome, right? Palindrome number. And let's say 1 to 3 to 1. This is also a palindrome, because if you reverse it, it is exactly same. Okay. So how do you do it? So let's say I have 1 2 3 2 1. This is the number. Now I want to have a reverse of it. So let's just go for something we can see the reverse. So because if I go with that number, reversing would not change anything, so I cannot verify, right? So for the reverse, it will be 5 4 3 2 1. So how I can do it in Python? See, I can convert it to a string. Now it is this, and for reversing a string, so yeah, this is how you reverse a string, and it's an iterator. Okay, so you have to convert it to a string again. Oh wait, no, just don't use it. Wait, this is like not yet taught, I guess. Fine. I will just show you something which is directly applicable on string. But anyway, we'll touch upon slicing and all in the next class. So just like learn it as a trick, but we'll explain how it is working in the next class. So reversing would look like this: colon colon minus 1. And we'll show how what I exactly mean by this colon colon minus 1 later. So when we'll be going deeper in string slicing and all. Okay. So now I have the reverse of it. Now I can also cast it to an integer. So I have the reverse integer number, right? So I can only check if number equal to reverse of that number. If this is true, then I just print it's an palindrome. Else I can just print not palindrome, right? Yeah, it's a non-palindrome 1 2 3 4 5, obviously. So now I go for 1 2 3 2 1. It's a palindrome. You got it, right?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir.
Go
Sir,
ahead.
please explain this condition. Yeah, this str num and this square bracket, this colon and minus 1.
Yeah. So this is how you reverse a string. So let's say I have a string. Let's say s equal to a b c d e f, right? And I want to reverse it. So s. Now this is how you reverse it. Okay, but how it works? It actually works like this. So you have to learn string slicing to do this. So string slicing, how it works? Let's say I want to uh, have from 0 to d, from a to d, I want to have the strings to be sliced. Okay, so I would write like this. So 0 and then colon, this is the index. So I want the 0th index and excluding the last index. So excluding means what? 0 1 2 3. So up to 3 I want. So I will give up to 4 because the last index is excluding. Okay, So excluding means I will give to 4. So A, B, C, D. I have up till D, right? So if I don't give anything, it will give me all the text from the starting index. So now let's say I don't want A, I want from B. So I will give 1 to end. Now one thing is there is a skip thing as well. So you can also skip characters. Okay. So how you can skip characters? Let's say I want these numbers, but I don't want C. So I want A, C, skipped D. So I can give like this. So A, 4 and 1. 1 is the skip. So skip 1. So it will only pick odd characters from the first index. Oh, sorry, 2. So it will take a stride of 2. So first and then the second, then the fourth, like this. A, B. So default it is 1. So it will take all the characters. Okay. But you can do this. So if I want all the characters but only the odd ones, I can do this. A C E C A C E. Only the odd ones get printed, right? Now let's say I want all the characters. I can do this. A B C D E F. But for Python, it's interesting. If you give -1, it will go backward. So first it will take F. So 0 minus 1 is F. So you can actually realize it like this. If I do 0, it gives me A, but if I do -1, it gives me the reverse thing. S, F, right? So -1, if I do -2, it gives me E. If I do -3, it gives me D. So it's actually going in reverse in minus. So colon -1 means give me all the characters but start from -1 and then go to -2, -3, something like this. So that's why you get FD, FEDCBA. So we'll discuss them in the next week. So next week we have the overall lecture on string slicing and all those things. Of what are the operations you can do on string. Then you will be like having a clear idea of. So anyway, so I guess this explanation was also helpful, right?
Yeah,
Why reverse
I
is
have
happening.
a query.
Mm-hmm. Go
So
ahead, go ahead.
in the palindrome code that we were showing, in this, why are we saying like string num? So num is already a string. If we are not converting it to int, it's already a string.
No, it's an integer. See. So in the
No, so
previous line,
for making it integer, we are writing num equal to integer.
no. This is to check. See, this is giving you the reverse number. So number is integer. Let me just create another cell. See. So num is this. If I check type of num, it's an int, right? But I cannot reverse int.
So
Reversing.
did we define anywhere that num is an integer, because we
No,
have
no,
to
no.
define.
No. For Python, the type of the variable is dynamic. So you can always so you can use the same variable as integer, strings, floats, and everything. Okay.
So
So see, I have not defined
the
any variable.
first time you are giving the input num equal to 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, that time Python is taking it as an integer only. It's not taken as a string.
No, because it's hard coded, right? See, it is hard coded.
Okay.
So if I give it like this, then it's a string.
Okay.
Got it? So now it's a string. If I check the type, it's a string. So I don't have to do this. Now I can directly reverse it like this, colon -1. But because I gave it like this, so first I have to typecast it to a string, which will give me a string, right? And then do a reverse operation on that one. So now I get this, and because I have to check with an int, right? Integers and strings cannot be checked with each other, so I have to convert it to an int again. This is how you convert it to int again. So you get the reverse numbers. So just go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And now at the end I check with whether that reverse number is equal to num. And if it is equal to num, then that means the reversing thing doesn't change the value. So that means it's a palindrome, otherwise not. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Fine. So yeah. So up till now we can do this type of programs, but so what about control? So whether we can control the flow of a loop. So at this point you see we can only loop. So you cannot stop at some specific condition, right? Or we cannot change the flow. It will only end when the condition is false. But there are syntax by which you can control when the loop ends or when the loop basically continues to or basically skip to the condition again without continuing with the code block. And those are this break and this continue statements. So break means whenever, let's say, you want to break out of the loop, you use this break statement. And whenever, let's say, I have some result, I want to skip executing the rest of the code block which is within if and start from the beginning again, I will do continue. Okay. So you understand what break and continue means, right? Continue means continue with the loop, don't execute the rest of the code, and break means break out of the loop. So can you think of a use case of this break and continue? Okay, just unmute and say, right? What can be a use case when you want to break from a loop and when you want to continue executing it?
So it can be used in printing a table. We'll use a break after multiplying with 10.
But you can always keep 10 as the last here, right? You can also keep where is it? You can also
Yes, we can, but we can also use this break in printing a table.
yeah, you can always, yeah, that's a valid use case. That I loop till let's say 100, but I only want to print up till 10, right? Then it is a valid use case. But that's like how you forcefully apply break, right? That's not the general use case. So most of the people would only go up till 10, right? Because the rest of the thing is dead code, so it will not execute any, like it will execute never, right?
Okay.
So what is the use case? You see, when here you have a menu. So I have a menu driven program. Whenever you press Y at the end of the calculator, you think of calculator program, right? After you add something, if you want to reuse the calculator, you press Y. If you don't want to reuse the calculator, you press N. No, I want to exit. That's the standard calculator program, right? So let's just modify our calculator implementation and introduce a while loop, and let's say introduce a for loop or while loop, because it is easier to create an infinite loop there. And whenever I press no, I will close out of the loop, otherwise I'll just continue reading inputs from the user, right? So how to write a infinite loop in while? So while, sorry, capital while, and then true. So while true means what? It true will be always true. So this loop will continue till the end of time until you close it manually. Right. Now indent it. So it is all under the false, under the while statement. It will run. Indentation shortcut is select a group of thing and just press tab. It will indent it. Okay. Tab. Now I want to also take, like I want to also take the operation, right? So just use all the knowledge we have till far, like so far. I want to use if else block and loops, right? And also break statement. So how I can do that? So I will take operation of is equal to input. So input, no, I want operation to be characters, right? So it's character and string are same in Python. So I just take input, give operation, and this can be what are the operations are like that are valid: plus, minus, slash, star, or slash, right? So these are the operations I want to do. So now I have of will be one of any of them. So check if of is equal to plus, then I will be doing this, else, and just let's do this. Let's just replace this all things with res result, right? Because anyway one will be executed. Else of is equal to minus. If it is minus, then I want to have this result minus, right? And exactly copy this to block. It's not necessary to have an else block in Python, so I'll have an else block to say okay, it's an invalid operation. So invalid op. Now for multiply, I have this multiply. For division, I have this division. Okay. Now while true, I have two numbers. I have the operation. I have the result in the result variable. If I give any invalid thing, it will give an invalid output, right? Okay. Now I have to print it also, right? So just remove all these things. I will have it under the while loop. See, it is not in the if else block, it is under the while loop indentation, right? Now instead of this fixed op, I can also have OPP op, num2, and then result, something like this. And if I do this, you see, it will not stop. It will ask me 3, I want a plus. Okay, 3 plus 5 is. So why this invalid? Okay, just turn off your microphone. Okay. So why this invalid op is coming? Yeah, because I have this. Wait. Okay, because I have this E block here, this should be LE. Now we have a complete ladder, right? Oh, but it is running. I have to stop it. Stop. Fine. 2, 3. If I did a plus, okay, it says give me another number. 3, 4. I want a multiplication. Yeah, 12. Give me another number. So it doesn't stop, right? So it has to be a mechanism for stop. So that's where break comes in. And I also when continue also comes into picture. So there is a case. See, let's just code the break first. So I want to have a menu driven system that whenever after showing us a result, it will ask me whether I want to continue or not. If I tap yes, it will continue with the next two numbers, operations and all. Otherwise, it will break. Okay. So I will just do this. Of choice integer, sorry, not integer, input. Wait, just input. I will just type y for continue, or y for reuse, not continue, reuse n for exit. Okay, and I will check if my choice is equal to n, small n, then I will break. So I will break out of the loop, and after breaking, at the end of the whole program, there is a, let's say this is the rest of the program. I write it as successfully exited, successfully exited calculator. Okay, now if I run it, 2, 3, I want to have a multiplication. Okay, type y, or y for reuse, n for exit. If I type y, give me another number, 4, 6, and I want a division operation. The output is 0.6666. If I type n now it successfully exit from the calculator, right? So this is how you use break, or when you use break. Okay, now there is a bug in this implementation. What is the bug? Let's say I write this thing, right? See what happens. This is all like nonsense, right? I gave 3, 5, and then I return back this 5 equal to this. So it is not making sense, right? So I have to check whether I have given an valid input or not, valid operation or not, right? So how I can check that? I can do like this. I can also have this one in a loop. Okay, until I give the valid input, it will keep asking me and prompting me, okay, it's an invalid input, something like this. Okay. So while true, and then I put all this block within that while, right? And if it is an invalid one, right? If it's an invalid one, I will continue. Or actually, if it is an invalid one, I will not do anything, else I will continue. Else I will break. I will break out of this while loop and come within the outer loop. So I can do all this break here, right? So I can only have a valid output when I have a valid operator. See, now if I do same thing and put invalid output, give an operation again. If I do another random thing, invalid output, give another operation, say plus. Now it is giving me a result and asking me whether I want to reuse it. Let's say no. Now, when I can use continue statement here, so instead of having all those 4 breaks, I can have a continue statement. Okay. So how I can have a continue statement? I can do this. So instead of all this, I can just check if and keep this whole block outside. And check if the off is in. So this is something you don't know yet, but you will know it in the later classes. If in this list, if the operation is within that list, if it is not within that list, then continue. What does this mean? Is if I give something that is not within this set of characters, it will continue with this while loop. This while loop will keep on running, and whenever it finds something within this set of characters, it will loop will exit. Oh, sorry. while true, then it will continue. No, I can just do this. In this, right, continue will, I don't think it's a valid use case. Continue will give us an infinite loop there. So this is how you can also represent it. So while true, until I give it a proper operation, it will not break out of this while loop. So it will just basically keep running again and again, and then it will, whenever I give you a valid operation, it will go compute the result and show it and ask whether I want to reuse. Right. So let's test it. Yeah, give an operation. So I have actually removed that. I can also use this else print invalid operation. Now it is exactly same. Okay. 2, 3, something GBDS invalid operation. Now give another operation. Let's say slash slash. This is also an invalid operation. Invalid operation. Fine. If I give only one slash, this is a valid operation. So 2 divided by 3 is fine. 2.6666. Now if I want to reuse, no. Exit out of the calculator. Okay. So I guess I will show you some use cases of continue later on, or you can find it somewhere if you want. Okay. Okay. So I guess we have last 10-15 minutes. So yeah, if you have any doubts regarding your first week's content or Scratch or about in general Python, you can say it now. I guess you are enjoying up till this part, right? Yeah. You guys can unmute and speak if you have any doubts. Actually, I can show you a simple use of continue. See, instead of taking choice as n, right, I can see choice as y. If the choice is y, continue. When I continue executing from the top, else break. This is how you use continue also. So whenever you tap y, it will go checking like running the code from top, and if it is not y, it will close. So one drawback of this, it will close at any statement and any character which is not y. So let's say star star, and let's say I want to close it, but it should only close when I have tap n, because it says so, type y or n. But if I type anything, it will close, because you see this else block get executed. Okay, and if I type y, then it starts continuing from the top again. So continue means don't run the rest of the code, you just run from the beginning again. Okay, you can actually see it here. Repeating would not work, so repeating is a date code at this stage. Anyway, so this is what continue works. So you basically restart the program, starting from the loop. But anyway, I think the earlier implementation was more optimized with a break. This one, but this also have an issue. If I type anything that is not n, it will keep on running. Right? Let's say I type anything, it will again prompt me a number unless I type it in n. So how you can fix this? You can fix this by having another choice is equal to y, then only continue. Else if you are typing an n, break, while, continue, else, anything you type, it will prompt you another this. So you have to put it in a while here. While true. All of them. Now if you are wait. No, breaking would only break this while loop, right? So anyway, just complicating things here. Just keep it as it is before. Let's just crash it for some inputs. We'll fix them later on. Okay, when you have a bit more understanding of the language. Okay. Okay, 3 star. I just don't want to complicate things at this point. You can always use the flag and check it later on, or have it checked whether the input is within that n or y. Actually, it's not that much hard. You can always use this kind of a statement, whether the choice is in. First of all, you have to check whether the choice is in y or n, right? And then you just check whether it is y or n in a loop. Just leave it. No, I don't want to read this. Okay, so coming back to the doubt clearing session, I don't think we have so much time left, maximum 10 minutes. So if you have any doubts at this point, um, you can clarify it now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't think you have any doubts at this point. Okay, you can always reach me. So in the presentation, I have my email ID and contact details here. Okay, so you can, if you have any doubts regarding the presentation, regarding any course material, you can reach me directly by the email. Okay, or you can just also post your doubts in the Google group, right? We have. Okay. Okay, thank you guys. I'm just stopping the recording. Stop.